evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The first thing on our agenda is we'll do our invocation, pledge of allegiance. Just prior to, I'm back. And I want to just take a quick point of privilege and say thank you to the community, to Lloyd, fellow staff members, the board, everyone for their support during these last 40 plus days. All is good. God is good. Okay.
Now, Mr. Roger Campos is going to lead us in an invocation followed by the pledge of allegiances.
Thank you, sir. Everybody can bow your heads. Dear Lord, I pray that you guide us always. Help us to carefully consider the relevant information that has been gathered. Help us to be innovative as we brainstorm solutions. Help us to wisely evaluate our options, considering the pros and cons. Even if we have different opinions, give us unity of spirit. We place our hearts and our minds in your hands so that you may direct us. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Campos.
Roger. Okay, recognitions.
Yes, sir. We do have a recognition this evening. I'd like to turn it back over to Mr. Roger Campos. We have one of our officers who's been duly recognized and the last day or two has turned into a movie star. We'll all get to see him pretty soon. So let me turn over to Mr. Campos and we will do our recognition this evening.
Good evening, board. Once again, we are here to honor one of our officers, and I actually am going to invite Sergeant Alvarez up, and he is going to say some words on behalf of Officer Bell.
Good evening, Mr. Board President, board members, Dr. Verso, senior staff, esteemed colleagues, and community members. On behalf of Chief Richard Palomo, I will be representing the Southwest ISD Police Department. This evening, the Southwest ISD Police Department would like to recognize Officer Brian Vera. Officer Vera began his law enforcement career with the Southwest ISD Police Department in 2009. Through his career, he has served in a number of roles in the police department. He currently serves as the department's community resource officer, also known as our CRO. As a CRO, Officer Vera has been part of the LEAD program since its inception in 2019, has been instrumental in the success of the program. When the COVID-19 pandemic occurred, it impacted the program. But Officer Vera adapted, overcame, by continuing his educational process through the implementation of virtual learning, of the virtual learning environment with the students. The Southwest ISD Police Department was the first police department in the state of Texas to implement LEAD into the classroom. This occurred in 2019, pre-COVID. Officer Vera was awarded here recently the LEAD Instructor of the Year for the state of Texas, and is the first police officer to receive this honor. Recently, Officer Vera was nominated for the prestigious American Society for Industrial Security Officer of the Year award. It is with great pride and honor to recognize Southwest ISD Police Officer Brian Vera.
Officer Vera is our Texas Instructor of the Year for LEAD Law Enforcement Against Drugs. Couldn't be prouder. He is a homegrown product and is just a terrific young man and doing a great job. So thank you for everything you do, Officer Vera. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll be right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Before Officer Vera shares a few words, we're going to ask Officer Vera's family, would you please stand behind every officer as one phenomenal family. So we want to thank His wife is on sitting here as well. You get two? That was the one from last time. Really good.
Ready? And, 1, 2, 3.
Just real quick, I just wanted to say thank you to the Southwest ISD. Thank you, Dr. Versa, Chief Palomo, President Alvarez, Sergeant Gilbert, who's a big role player in the lead program as well. I just want to say thank you for allowing us to teach this program. I believe wholeheartedly in this program, and I believe that any intervention in students' life along the way is a positive thing. And the positive feedback that we receive from students and teachers is a great thing. So thank you again. Thank you, everybody.
So, Officer, like Dr. B said, he's a movie star, so at Fox 29 tonight at 9:30, they will be doing a feature story on him. So be sure to have that link on our website and on our district social media.
Awesome.
Very nice. Thank you, Officer Rhoda. Any other recognitions?
That's all.
Okay, with that, is there any public comments today? Anyone sign up? Mr. Romero? No? Okay. With that, if the most exciting part of this meeting is over with, you're welcome to stay for the rest, but you're also welcome to take an exit at this time. Thank you so much for coming. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Seeing you, David.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Board members, you've had item 5A through O before you. Is there any questions on any items? Dr. Versa, staff, is there any need to pull any item out?
We do not.
Okay,
I move.
we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Items of information, construction update. Right.
We have a lot going on. Pretty excited about where we are right now. We're starting the school year. So we have our team here to come up and present some of the projects that we got coming down to the end. And then talk a little bit about some of the projects that will still be going as we move through the school year. So I'll turn it over to Billy.
So it'll be Southwest High School, so we had it for project for this. Our Southwest High School Grade 3 project. Loyola, two architects, one Garcia with Cancom Construction. Ready?
Good evening.
So we're presenting board report number 15 tonight. This takes us to the end of August. You can see here the cost that we have, the percentage of completion through August 31st. Camp number 14 was processed through 78%, and then projected number 15 to 92%. That brings us right around the completion when we're coming out to finish on September 30th. It should be completed with a majority of the items, other than maybe a few punch list items. as presented last month, we've broken this down into two different items. One was the original scope, that entailed in this summer work, the art classrooms that is being completed now. We booked the punch list walk this past week. Just a few tack boards that are missing that are going to be delivered. Other than that, they're ready for use on Monday. The choir room, that's a little bit work that we need to do. There were some modifications that needed to be done because of existing ductwork and sprinkler pipes that we need to make some adjustments to the ceiling heights. But that's going to be ongoing after the school starts, but it should be completed before the end of September. On the second floor renovations in the restrooms, that's something that the only thing that we're missing there is the toilet partitions. Based on the delivery of the toilet partitions, they're going to be a little bit late. They're scheduled to come in on the 30th, but once they go in, there should be a quick install and they should be ready to be turned over to the students. In the heel area, something that we have to do because of some sprinkler leaks that we have to replace all the flooring inside and did some repairs, some gypsum walls. That's already been completed, and that's going to be turned over also ready for use on Monday. The majority of the HVAC units on the roof have been completed, other than a few punch list items that we're going to walk, that should be completed. The roofing, the foam roof that was done on the whole high school building, that's also being completed now, and scheduled punch lists are coming. And then a minor work in the CTE building for overhead folding doors. But that meant repairing a lot of walls, a lot of floors, finding a lot of pieces here and there for a lot of the millwork that's in the science lab, but everything's ready to go. We walked it this past week and it should be ready for school on Monday. Anything else?
I will say that adding the extra work to incline really obviously become a really good project. Southwest High School is pretty excited about ending its renovation, as this was renovation number 3 over the last, say, 5 years. So I think it's a great project. The team did a really good job with all 3 parties. There's no more questions.
No questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, the next project. Our Scobie Middle School renovation. Here's Aaron Depot with Partner Top General Contractor.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me this evening. Thanks for the opportunity again. Like I said last time, got some good news. We had the final fire inspection with the county this morning for the whole, for the rest of the phases on the project. We passed. Everything's now opened up and certified with the county. So campus is moving in to all areas of the campus. Finished up the kitchen, serving line, and things of that nature. So kitchen staff moved right in, and things are looking pretty good. Remaining work, we've got a little bit of things left to do, just punch items really, but nothing that's really preventing the campus from occupying, nothing that's preventing the students from being there. So we're going to continue to work through those punch list items, some minor things throughout the campus, paint touch-ups and ceiling touch-ups, things of that nature. Everything else is looking pretty good. So see in the photos the completed areas. A couple of these photos are about a week old, but the last pending area really that has any kind of significant work in it is the art room, which we had to finish up for this morning's inspection. The only thing we're pending in there is some light fixtures that will come in at the end of this week. We'll knock those out, hopefully into this week or Saturday, and everything goes pretty smoothly from there.
questions for the team?
I'd encourage, if you haven't driven by, to see the new front entry. It definitely is different and really looks like what it looks like on paper. So great job by you guys.
I would say, I apologize, to those who reached out to me to maybe set something up, still want to do that, so we don't see these projects, you know, and see what happens. A lot of good work done, and we take the team this one. I guess the words are just a stranger, it's one time. That being said, some of our other projects will be following the same suit.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Are you introducing the next project?
Next up's our auditorium. Give you all an update on that. This is Rick Houston from Marvin Rock and Rusty Medlin from Jordan Park.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Verstappen, great to see you. It's beginning to take shape.
Yeah.
Out the site, you will have seen the frame of the building coming along. Just a couple of key things, as you know, it's been a wet spring and summer. Even through the rain, we're still projected in April 2022 to substantial completion. And we are over a third of the way through the project, almost 40% complete with the project at this time. So a lot of things are going to be beginning to happen on the building. All of the concrete for the main body of the pool and the concrete columns are poured. There's still some concrete pour out there on second floors, and the pool deck still has to go in. But a lot of the frame is going up now, and some of the site work and the utilities are going inside. One of the biggest things that's happening on the site right now is they're preparing for the erection of the large trusses that are going to go over the matted point. And so they're actually putting a special coating on those right now, so they'll be protected in the matted point environment. But in about 3 weeks, when those trusses start to get erected, you'll see the frame of the building really take shape. A few photos tell you, if you haven't been out there, a little bit about what's going on. The bottom photos are views from the second level of the natatorium, so you can see the view across Newport 10. Very prominent. As I mentioned, a lot of the concrete's done. The concrete columns are very visible from the highway. And the bottom right photo is an image from the administrative office area. There are the trusses on the ground, a lot of finishing going on that, and they will span across the pool. They're going to be assembled on site and hoisted in place as one long truss for each of the bays that march along. So, march your calendar. That's our report.
Questions?
Quick update on it took us probably 7 months to finish our agreement with the city over the financial piece of their funding into this project. They took it to the city council this month, was approved. So now we're so far along in the project, the part that we were working through now to get our funding from them already happened. So now we're working through the logistics and the financials on how we're going to invoice them and how we're going to work that out. So the funds that I asked the board to put forth in lieu of their funding, we should be receiving that hopefully soon. I'd like to get it this month, but I highly doubt it that we'll be ready. So I'm hoping to do that 3.9 back.
Okay. Great.
Any questions for the team?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ren.
Hey, Rusty.
A couple other projects we got going on right now, I can fill you in on. Our roof and HVAC replacement. We're about done there. We had a walkthrough. Paula this morning. For all the HVAC and the mezzanines, then our punch list, there's small things here and there we gotta take care of. Nothing really major. Re-walled another creek, the only things left are to do the walk for the fire alarm and PAs. We do that tomorrow morning. And then the following day, we'll just give training to staff on operation of PA. And again, other than punch list stuff, we should be out of there, and turned over to the schools. That's basically it for that project.
Question on that project?
When is the track gonna be finished up?
Well, that's gonna be our next presentation. This is on,
This is
This
just,
this is HVAC and roofs only.
I knew that, I was just testing out.
But we're gonna get to your questions now.
okay, this is just for James. This is our middle school track project. Doris, EC, are handling that. The 4 middle school, Resnick, McNair, Scobie, and Olive. McNair and Resnick started first because those are football fields. So we wanted to complete those first. But for the fact that we're doing all new sod on these fields, we will not be playing any games there this year. Just because of the time it takes for the sod to take place. It's like 120 days, so that pretty much wipe out the seasons there. Resnick will play at Legacy and they will play at Spring Complex. So we've already worked that out with Coach Wagner, so. McAuliffe, they basically just started there. You can see the outline of the track now, they graded. That was the last one they started, so things are just taking shape there. Starting to look like a track. McNair and Resnick are about the same phase right now. The sod's been removed, track's been graded. We're starting to do irrigation on both fields. Both fields are actually getting moved a little bit, so the goalposts will have to be moved. The McNair goalposts were in good shape, so we're getting goalposts there. All we've got, the major thing right there, McNair in that picture is these force main, which they were working on tonight, as soon as the parent-teacher meeting is over. So some more pictures of McNair, like I say, it's looking like a track and field right now. Scobie, that's the big one, just because of all the dirt that had to be moved. And infield in the back. The portable still in the way from the apartment top project. That should be moved the end of this week, beginning of next week. So George can start taking control or over more of that area. So the apartment top leaves, hopefully by the end of the month, gets their stuff out of the way. Then the whole thing is theirs. More pictures of Scobie. Cleared all that land behind the school, all the trees. Starting to dig the new drainage ditch, as the old one was where the field was, track is gonna be. And this is some pictures of Resnick, which I said, like I said, that and McNair is basically the same stage in the project. Turf gone, track graded, getting ready to lay irrigation. Resnick and McNair scheduled to be completed late October, November. Scobie and Paula, about a month later. Thanks.
Good job, Bill.
Question?
No, sir. And we've already scheduled games and.
Coach Wagner now that, they relocated those schools, Resnick and McCullough to. Resnick was kind of already playing at Legacy, last year. But McNair's going to have to go to the complex.
They'll be excited about playing the complex.
Yeah, they like playing there anyways.
Okay. Thank you.
For the last bond project is the transportation department. We're working with CAC on their contract, so we should be seeing some towards the middle September. So that project's just gearing up.
Great. Okay. Monthly tax report. I see you're on par.
Yes, sir. We actually are, when we set up budget, I shoot for 99%. Right now we're at 98. We'll collect this month, I think we'll reach 99 or a little bit.
Good. Great. Board members, the investment report, gives some requests, purchases over 50,000. Any questions? Hearing none. Calendar events, you also have that before you. Any questions there?
No.
If not, we'll go into the update on the strategic planning process.
Yes, sir. I know senior staff spent time really vetting some companies, external entities come in to support our next 5-year strategic plan in Southwest ISD with our board priority goals and what we aspire to achieve and set goals for. Tonight, our friends are here to present the update of where that process is. Reminder, it's a multi-month process, and we will have checkpoints as we continue down the journey. So I'm really proud to introduce some really great folks that we're working with. We have James Guetta, Dr. Steve Lord, and Mr. Ronald, and they're going to bring our board and our community this update, and then we'll continue that journey. Answer any questions up to this point. We'll continue that journey beyond this evening where we go. So I'll turn it over to Mr. James Guetta.
Thank you, Dr. Marcel.
Yes, sir.
Is the document available for your device there? I have a USB as well.
See that guy behind that podium? He is an expert.
I gather it is. Thanks. He's the oracle. If I may, you mind if I?
Absolutely, no problem.
While he's bringing that up, I'll just quickly again say thank you on behalf of JG Consulting. Thank you for your service, esteemed members of the board, Dr. Verstep, staff, community alike, for entrusting us with this important work. It's been a true honor to represent you as we develop the strategic plan on behalf of Southwest ISD. So tonight, rather than going through everything verbatim, we're just going to cover some of the highlights and quickly underscore and emphasize some of the points and points of pride that we've heard throughout the summer. So I'll digress for a moment and also thank my team, Dr. Flores, Mr. Leal, who are joining me here this evening. There are 3 other members of the consulting firm who have been a part of this work during the summer months. We've had a number of meetings, both internally and externally with your constituents as well, to gather input. So where we are in the phase of the strategic planning process is we've gathered input, candid input, feedback from the trustees, from your staff, from community members, business leaders, philanthropic leaders, other folks who have a genuine invested interest in Southwest ISD, and what are their hopes and aspirations as we look to the future. So what you see before you is the stakeholder summary report. And really, this is just a synthesized version of all of that feedback that we've received. So I'm scrolling down just to get to some of the meat of what we'll present and share with you this evening, and then we'll entertain any questions you might have. So I talked a little bit about the summer months. So beginning in the latter part of May, all the way through the 3rd week of July, we conducted a number of meetings, all of which took place virtually. Due to the pandemic, as we all know, we weren't able to engage with anybody in person. So it's nice to be before you this evening in person so we can put some of the names with the faces. We hosted more than 13 meetings, again, comprised of internal staff, cabinet, teachers, all of the above. And then, of course, taking the direction of Dr. Verstep, including external stakeholders, business leaders, philanthropic leaders, to gather that input and that feedback. Some of the recommended communication channels and priorities that we see as a matter of priority going forward, you can see before you. So we'll continue with email, phone conversations, in-person meetings when allowable. And then we'll also, as Dr. Verstep stated, this is a work in progress. So this is ultimately just a summary of what we've gathered from the input that we've received.
What we would also recommend, if it's the will of the district, the will of the board, is to create a unique URL that can be found within the district's website that can provide regular updates for your staff, for the board, your constituents, the students even, to understand where we are in this process. So if you're familiar with the current strategic plan that is made available on the district's website, not too different than that, other than incorporating major milestones on where we look to be 2 months from now, 3 months from now, and so forth. So the goal is to backwards plan and backwards map the strategic plan. So our goal right now, as it stands today, is to present an iteration of the first draft before the winter break, before we go into the new year. And then shortly thereafter, the new year clock starts ticking, we'll come back with the final draft. We'll continue to provide updates using district social media platforms, automated phone calls if allowable, postal communication if applicable, and other media outlets. We've heard some good feedback and some candor about promoting the district utilizing certain things such as billboards, newspaper, radio, and television. And of course, that all is contingent upon budgetary constraints. So the continuity of a consistent message will continue. We're here to support you. We work at the will of the district, so we're your allies in this work. Some of those milestones I alluded to are found here where the cursor is. So tonight we're here August 17th. The next meeting we will have together will be with Dr. Versteff, his cabinet, and the board during the TASB conference in Dallas towards the end of September. So our team, the JG Consulting team, will host a luncheon where we can provide you with another update at that time. And then December 7th, right now we have that as tentative, but if it is draft iteration before the holidays. And then of course, ongoing communication throughout. Some of the sectors in the categories, so the way we like to group these meetings are kind of in a macro and a micro way. So if you look at these 4 quadrants here on the screen, you'll notice that we've identified the cabinet, central administration staff, and staff also includes teachers. Auxiliary groups that we've met with, the Alamo Colleges, the city of San Antonio included its elected officials, community groups, Atascosa Water, faith-based leaders. We heard a presentation from Pfluger this evening. They were a part of providing feedback. Your partnerships with HEB, NRP, and Toyota also provided input and feedback. And what's really exciting about this work is throughout the process, we've had an online survey that has been available for the staff and the community to respond to. And I'm really proud of this number. You've had more than 900 online surveys submitted. Now, what we can do with the data is provide an exported version in a PDF. Now, I will forewarn you that if we were to do that, it's going to be quite lengthy and long, but if you'd like to read all the commentary that has come back, that's something we can easily do. We can extract that data. But we wanted to give you a few ideas of the types of questions. So there's only 4 questions. It's a very brief survey. It's still open if anyone wishes to respond if they haven't done so. But we've asked for orders of priority from 1 being a high importance, 5 being a low importance. And you can see there was all a pretty good average and a pretty healthy mix. So ranging from financial health of the district, a high priority. So nothing was higher than 3. So we take that context to mean that everything that we've asked was of significant priority. So you have academics, parental engagement, ELL support, teacher retention has been very big in terms of the promotion, early learning literacy, school safety, facilities, which we see there's a lot of tremendous work being done there, and then financial health of the district. And then the way the average numbers rank are here, with the highest being 3 and the lowest being 2. And again, number 1 is of the greatest need priority. And you can see the total number of responses here. Second topic, in your opinion, what is most important for moving Southwest ISD to the next level of excellence? You can see the greatest number of, the greatest response rate is more than 30% focused still to remain on academics, which you are a district of choice. So continuing that trend is clearly important to your staff and community. The second highest being school safety, which isn't any surprise considering the rise of COVID and the Delta variant and what's yet to come. Then you have rounding that out, facilities improvement, which you're addressing now, early learning literacy, teacher retention, and so forth. You can see again, it's broken down into the percentages of responses. The perspective on Southwest ISD comes from these different opportunities for self-identifying. I will say that this is an anonymous survey, so there isn't an opportunity to self-disclose who you are, but the majority, more than 50%, are Southwest ISD staff and or faculty, with the second, I guess in line to that would be the current students, and then third, current parent or legal guardian. And again, just a screenshot of the percentages. And last but not least, the fourth topic, is there anything else you wish to add as the school board seeks your input during the development of the 5-year strategic plan? And so, as I stated earlier, we can extract this and export it to a more robust report. If you'd like to read through all the comments, it's not a problem. I'll work with Mona and Dr. Burstov's staff to do that if you wish to see what else was shared. And then what we also like to do is create a comprehensive overview. Again, because of all the robust feedback we've received, we kind of break these down into 3 buckets, 3 categories, if you will. We did have an opportunity to meet with the trustees, and I mentioned staff and then the community. Well, you can see there's a lot of continuity and a lot of synergy across these 3 categories. So you'll see that teacher retention here in the 4th bullet is also synergistic with some of the other feedback of the staff and the community. Improve communication to foster a culture of trust while promoting collaboration at all levels. We heard how important it is for communication to be at the forefront especially during these times. So some of these bullet points here, you'll see that there's certainly some continuity across all 3 categories. Parental engagement, as we stated earlier in that first topic, these were all things that we pared down. So we have a ton of notes. We have a repository, if you will, of feedback and input. So it's important for Dr. Flores, Mr. Leal, the other 3 members of the firm to come together and to pare this down for it to make the most sense. But at any point in time, you wish to see everything in a more granular kind of format, we can certainly provide you with that level of detail. But I think in the spirit of time, if there are any questions, I'd like to welcome the board members or staff community for that matter to ask us any questions.
Board members? We'd
The
like
only
to,
question I would have is, the 900 and something inquiries, you said it was a split between different aspects of the people. Can we try to see if we can engage more of the population of, I guess certain areas? Because right now I think 923 is like limited to like where we have over 28,000 people in our district.
Yeah, we could certainly keep it open. I think if we could request some assistance to remind everyone here in the community and within the context or the, I guess, parameters of Southwest ISD, that there is a survey available. We conducted the survey during the summer months. I think there was probably some downtime for folks who were not checking email or not perhaps in front of their computers. So, or devices, because it's device agnostic. They can do it from a cell phone, a tablet, anywhere that they have internet access. So if there's an opportunity to continue to promote it, we'll certainly gather more input and feedback and provide you with another update when we have our next meeting during that lunch. I think that's a great idea. So we'll keep it open indefinitely until we feel it's appropriate at some point in time to close it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to dedicate, we can do that and we're really good at getting messaging out. And so we can use our automated call system and our social media. So we can continue to encourage those numbers to apply. I just want to say this is my 3rd strategic plan. I've been in this role 12 years, so had an opportunity. I've been very impressed with the comprehensive approach that you all bring to the table. And I know in my one-on-one meeting I know every one of our board meetings had an opportunity to go through the process, but sitting there 6 consultants asking questions really kind of confirm that you guys are in here to really get to the root cause analysis of where we're trying to get on in our plan so that we can become a much better school district, serving our students and serving our community. So I just want to tell you from a outside perspective, now inside working with you, there is a really marked difference of your approach to really getting to the authentic feedback. And so I just want to say, really great start, and I look forward to the journey and getting to the conclusion of what our plan is going to look like.
Thank you.
Great
Dr.
job.
Verstev. And likewise, really, the hard work during the summer months of the staff, Dr. Verstev's team has been incredible. We can't accomplish all of these meetings without the support of the staff. So at times we tend to over communicate to the point where at least I feel like I'm the best. I tried to lead from the back, but really Dr. Flores and Mr. Leo and the others on the team, they're the real brain trust. I may be the one talking right now, but they do a lot of the work. So I'm overworking them as well. But thank you again for the opportunity. We look forward to seeing you in Dallas, barring no craziness happens between now and then. Of course, Dr. Lee, you have our contact information. Should you need us any point in time, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't.
Thank you, Mr. Leal and Dr. Flores. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Employee handbook, at Southwest Student Handbook.
Yes, sir.
What do we got?
This is an item of information, Mr. Francis Barcelona is going to introduce Mr. Baker or.
Good job, Francis.
Good evening. Welcome back, President Vasquez.
Thank you. Well,
Board members, again, good evening. Each year, we put up the employee handbook. This year, at this time, we incorporate the changes that were brought to us by our friends at TASB. There are actually very few changes this year of consequence. There's some changes in the area of leave, military leave, police officer leave that we'll be addressing. But other than that, they're just kind of semantic changes here and there, like taking cyberbullying and changing it from 2 words to 1 word. But other than that, everything is pretty much the same. We'll post that this week and have it up in English and in Spanish for our employees. Any questions?
no. Thank you.
And then after that, again, for the item of information, we have the student handbook, and that will be 800.
Board President Watts.
Good evening.
We do have some additions or changes to the student handbook. The handbook, or the board annually reviews the handbook as per FN local policy. The 2021-2022 Southwest ISD Student Handbook is designed to serve as a general resource guide only and is designed to be in harmony with board policy and the student code of conduct. The handbook is not a complete statement of all policies, procedures, or rules that may be applicable in a given situation. Its addendum governs all behavior at school, school-sponsored and school-related activities, and during school-sponsored travel. The SWISD Student Handbook is developed using the TASB model and reviewed by department administrators. Some of the changes or the additions or deletions that were actually part of the development of the handbook this year include the following. I believe you have a copy of it as well. In the area of assessment accountability, many of the dates, the testing dates, especially regarding SAT and SAT test dates, have been updated for this particular school year. We also have additional assessment and accountability information. There are links for parents to access accountability information. And there's also information about the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. And there's also information as far as kindergarten acceleration included in this particular section of the handbook. Athletics, there's no change to the athletics section of the handbook. Child nutrition, there is some information about bringing in outside foods and also students being able to purchase NAFTA a la carte items. But one change that we did want to emphasize here was regarding the seamless summer option for all campuses. A new nationwide waiver addressing child nutrition program operations in 2021-22 will allow Southwest ISD to use the seamless summer option for this particular school year. This will allow all Southwest ISD students district-wide to receive free breakfast and lunch. And this option may differ from year to year, and districts may revert back to the national lunch program. So we also have some information regarding community partnerships, or excuse me, there's typical information about community partnerships, but no changes to that particular section. What we do have also is an updated list of the, under the curriculum and instruction section, a list of CTE programs for secondary students. Those are listed in the handbook, and you have them there as well in front of you. There also has been some reformatting and some adjustments made to the class ranking section and the transfer grade conversion chart. That's mostly formatting. I think that's changed in that particular section. There's also some information about languages of languages other than English regarding guidelines that students are required to follow for the purpose of meeting requirements, participating in such testing. There's also some information about awarding of credit for completing both lower level and upper level courses. Under the section, under the fine arts section, there are no changes to that information. Health services, there were several changes or several updates actually. There's information regarding human sexuality instruction and evidence-based and abstinence-focused curriculum for students enrolled in grades 6 through 12. That information has been updated, as well as immunization information. Information regarding medicine at school for all grade levels has been updated. There is a section on asthma and severe allergic reactions that has been adjusted to reflect updated information also. And there are updates to the diabetes section that have been included in the new handbook. The new handbook also contains updated contact information regarding the school advisory council. The technology section, we did include the unacceptable and inappropriate use of technology resources section. That has been updated to include file storage and to be more inclusive regarding what is not allowed in terms of data. And we did put here also that regarding dressing and grooming, that information about personal protective equipment, that needs to be appropriate and aligned with dress and grooming standards. Specifically, students will wear clothing or accessories, including forms of personal protective equipment such as face masks that meet appropriate dress and grooming standards. There are some changes and some additions to the charts and testing dates, like we said earlier. And then we also included for the 21-22 student handbook, the disclaimer that Southwest ISD may develop, implement, and enforce additional health, safety, and other procedures and practices as needed to meet local, state, and federal level guidelines and mandates. This includes but is not limited to the use of personal protective equipment and social distancing. Are there any questions about?
Great job. Questions, from the board members? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So just as a reminder to the board, and then we have, and we're now here in the history, we don't bring the student parent handbook for approval because it's so closely aligned to the policies that the board has always approved and taken action on. And I just wanted everyone that maybe wondering why we're not bringing it for an action item. That's the reason why. Yeah, because it does align directly back to our policy to kind of close that loop.
Okay. Thank you. Virtual student options.
Yes, sir. We can't talk about virtual student options unless we talk about our practice comprehensively. So in the time that we are in with enhanced COVID metrics in our backyard, in our state, nationally, we are following the guidelines from Texas Education Agency. We are also having dialogue and communication with our community and with our parents, with our students, with our board and trustee, with each other about what more can we do to make sure that we create something for our parents because we know that they want their children just like we want their children and our children and our families to be safe and protect their welfare. And so we have come up with 3 of the guidelines that are supported by TPA, and then we've come up with another local guideline to come up with.
prior to getting into the guideline, we have a fifth guideline, which is our protective safe protocols to address COVID and for our students who are returning face to face. And so I'd like to turn over to our Director of Health Services, Ms. Valerie Maldonado, who's just been incredible during this most non-incredible time, and has been a really great leader and voice to really help us make decisions and do mitigation, contact tracing. So she's been phenomenal. And so to start off talking about our platforms or venues of learning, we're going to start with our safe protocols. So Valerie, go through that, and then we'll take any questions, then we'll transition on over to the learning options that we have available.
Thank you, Dr. Versta. Good evening, Board. Thank you for having me here today. So I really just want to give you a brief COVID-19 status update so that way you all know where we stand as of today. And what we look at, as Dr. Versta had mentioned, we really look at a few different metrics that are on the City of San Antonio's COVID-19 website. They list hospital stress, hospital trends, average case rate, positivity rate, and I'm missing one. There's one other one that they list. But we look at those to really identify where the city is in regard to COVID. And back in May, June, all of those had turned green, which was a really promising sign. Now, all of those, which I presented at our last board meeting, the little icons, they're red and orange. So we're definitely at a different time, especially when we're welcoming back our students. So we want to make sure that we tread carefully because we want to make sure that we keep them as safe as possible, our staff and students, and that we keep them in our classes. So our COVID-19 safety plan does talk about all of our safe protocols, and that is online. But really what I wanted to talk to you about is now our messaging, the messages that we're going to get out to the community about why we're doing the things that we're doing. And this first message, which I really have to give accolades to Jesse and Roger because they really helped put this all together, is about the Delta variant and why it's important that we address masking and the Delta variant. So one, the Delta variant is the predominant strain of the virus now, right? Before we had all of these other strains, now it's a Delta variant that we're really seeing in our COVID-19 positive cases. It spreads faster. The infographic or the picture on the right shows you what the first strain or the previous strains, how transmissible that was. So one person could give it to two. Now the Delta variant, you can see on the right, one person can potentially transmit that to six. So it's much more contagious. It can cause more severe illness than the previous strains in unvaccinated persons, and we're really concerned about those unvaccinated people. The vaccine provides strong protection against serious illness and death, even if infected with the Delta variant. So again, we know how important the vaccine is. But in addition to that, and what we know, a layered preventative approach is really what we need to implement, which includes all of the things that we're doing, including masking. That is really important in preventing the spread of COVID-19. The chart down at the bottom shows you what we saw on the left side. That was back in May. And you could see the number of cases that we had in district. And we had a nice decline and a nice steady flat rate throughout the summer. And now we're peaking again. So we've had 15 cases just this past week before students have returned. So we want to implement all of those layered preventative and prevention strategies to make sure that we keep our students again and staff safe and in our buildings safe. Are there any questions in regard to this?
Could you speak a little bit to the contact tracing and if masks are worn and whether or not, and how that works?
Absolutely. So when we contact trace, when somebody tells us I'm COVID-19 positive, we ask a few questions. We ask, okay, when did you develop symptoms? And if they're asymptomatic, we ask, when did you take your test? Then their infectious period, the time that we look at as far as when they were around other people, actually starts 48 hours prior to the development of symptoms, or if they're asymptomatic to their actual date of their test. So if they were around anybody within 6 feet for a total time of 15 minutes or more in a 24-hour period, we identify those people, then we ask more questions. Were you wearing a mask appropriately and consistently? If they say yes, great. Who were you around within 6 feet for 15 minutes or longer, and were they wearing a mask appropriately and consistently? If both parties were wearing a mask, then no close contacts are identified. If one person is not wearing a mask, then would identify that person, whoever the close contact is, as a close contact, they would have to quarantine. We also ask if they're fully vaccinated. If they're fully vaccinated, meaning they've had 2 of their doses of the Moderna or Pfizer, or the 1 dose of J&J, and they're 2 weeks post that dose, they would not have to quarantine. And we would follow up with them to make sure they're not exhibiting these symptoms.
Do they have to answer you if you ask if they're vaccinated?
We haven't had any issues. Typically, people are very willing to cooperate. So we haven't encountered that. We would like for them to answer, because that helps us identify whether or not they're they can possibly contract COVID-19 and to help prevent the spread.
But what if they just say, I'd rather not say?
Then we would probably go ahead and address that administratively. If it's a staff member and if it's a student, then we would have to again address that and just talk to the parent and let them know why it's important that they help us out in identifying that information. And if not, then we would most likely ask them to.
Yes, it would benefit for someone to let us know, and they wouldn't have to go through the mitigation protocols. So that's the benefit of someone informing us.
Right, but it is also private information.
I'm sorry?
It is also private information.
It is.
You don't
They
have
can,
to say
they can
yes
hold
or
that
no.
information, but you're right. Absolutely.
But really, we have not had anybody not want to cooperate. Are there any other questions?
Is that was that in our thing? Our,
It's on our social
electronic-
media, it's on our web,
Okay.
our Facebook today.
Thank you so much for allowing us to come here and present to you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Val. So now I believe,
So now, we're gonna go, now that you kind of know the state of, or the status of where we are, we're gonna go ahead and lead to a cross-divisional work that we put together to build options, virtual learning options for students. And we have a team of Adrian Ramirez, Julian Aragon, Delia Palacios, and Don Benavides is going to join us online. And they're gonna talk to you about the options that are available.
Good evening, board, and as Ms. Maldonado mentioned, thank you for having us today and providing you with this update. I'm going to speak a little bit about the remote conferencing learning option. That is going to be one of the options that our students are going to be able to qualify for or apply for if they meet certain criteria. In the case that they do have some contamination, as Valerie was just talking about. So first of all, what is remote conferencing? It's going to be an option for students to be able to log on for remote instruction, and it's going to be provided to all regular education students grades K through 12 who meet the following 2 requirements. They have to be able to meet this criteria in order to qualify for this option. So the student has to be able to, if the student is unable to attend school because of a temporary medical condition, and then the total number of remote conferencing instruction does not exceed more than 20 instructional days over the entirety of the school year. In addition to that, the students have to meet one of the other requirements. So for instance, the student's temporary medical condition is documented by a physician that's licensed to practice in the United States. And then the documentation also has to include a statement from the physician that the student is either to remain confined to their home or to a hospital. One of the other ones is that the student has a positive test result for a communicable condition that's listed under the TAC rule 97.7.5. And so that does provide you with a list of those communicable conditions, and that is also supposed to be posted on our website, so that way parents know, is this one of the qualifying conditions that my child or someone in the household qualifies for? They would be able to see that. Or the other option is the student has been identified as having been in close contact with COVID-19, as Valerie mentioned in the contact tracing. Then if the student had to be quarantined for 5 days, then the student would qualify for the remote conferencing option. And then let's say the student, again, the second semester gets, contaminated again for whatever reason, has to be out now 10 days. So that's a total of 15 days. That student can still qualify for 5 more days. If for some reason we have a student who goes at the max 20 days for the entire school year, or the school year is not finished yet and they get to those 20 days, there is an option for us to file a waiver for that student, but it would be done on an individual basis. And so when we talk about how will the attendance be taken, because that was some of the information that we anticipated at our town hall meeting, as parents would wonder, like, what would that look like? So students that are participating in the remote conferencing would be required to engage and be virtually present with their assigned teacher daily through a two-way real-time instruction during 2 through 4 hours throughout the day. So it's not like they can just go on their own and create these assignments or log on their own. They actually have to be present with the teacher for her or him to take attendance. Students participating in remote conferencing would receive the same type of instruction. They would still have access to all the TEKS, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, the same pacing that we would have all our students face-to-face, because we would expect them to have them back into the classroom at some point. And so we want to make sure that they are at the same pace, following the same scope and sequence as all the other students, at the same rigor, same expected grade level, and the subjects. And so similarly, remote conferencing is also available and applies to special ed students. So one of the questions also we anticipated was who would be my child's teacher for remote conferencing? TEA has provided us some guidance for that. And so the teachers that are going to be designated as a remote conferencing teacher is more likely not going to be the teacher of record or the same teacher that the child has in the classroom. So for instance, if I have my students face-to-face, one of my students has to switch over to remote conferencing, it's going to be very likely that that student is not going to have me as a teacher virtually. TEA was very careful in stating that they didn't want to put that stress on teachers again this year. Last year, it was a lot for them to teach face-to-face and then at the same time have students, over here online. And so they said, if you have a remote conferencing teacher, that will be the teacher that's dedicated to teaching that. All of the students that do qualify for the remote conferencing are going to receive the same high quality of instruction. So it's not like they're going to get a packet or they're going to get, just looking on this program. They're going to get the same type of high quality instruction from a certified teacher. And we do have the option to utilize our substitute teachers for this option as well, but they would still have access to all the curriculum, the same resources, and pacing guidance, scope and sequence. And so one of the questions also is, if my child is going to school face-to-face every day, and then all of a sudden come Monday cannot make it to school, how will my child get access to that? We are working with Mr. Jeff Powell's department, and also with all the campuses to ensure that if that happens, parents have the option to make a phone call to the campus and go ahead and go curbside and pick up any necessary technology. What do you call those hotspots? Any other type of resources that they need curbside. Are there any questions on remote conferencing? And I'm going to go ahead and transfer it over to Mr. Ramirez, and he's going to go into a different learning option.
So the local virtual learning option is another option that we've created. For this particular option, this option is actually available for students ages 5 through 12 who ended the previous school year in a virtual setting, who do not have the opportunity to receive the vaccine, that have a medical condition that prevents him or her from attending in-person school, who are not eligible to be serviced through another state-approved special program. And these are students who are also living in the same home as a family member with a documented underlying medical condition who is at higher risk of developing severe outcomes resulting from COVID-19. Pre-K is not eligible for this local virtual option. So if an interest is expressed in actually the local virtual learning option, then there are some things that will be taken into consideration. Schools will ensure that students had at least 90% attendance during the 2020-2021 school year and continue with 90% during the time that they are in the local virtual option. They will ensure that students achieve at least 70% or better in the following subjects during the 2021 school year and continue with such during the time that they are in the local virtual option. And these subjects include reading, language arts, math, social studies, and science. Demonstrated, students will also, schools will also ensure that students demonstrate that they were actively engaged in learning on a daily basis and effectively manage learning time, completing assignments and consistently following the online schedule for the 2020-2021 school year. And understand that if they are approved for the virtual instruction option, they will not be eligible to participate in extra and co-curricular activities. Schools will also ensure that students understand that this option requires a commitment for the fall semester and that our local virtual learning option will follow the remote conferencing guidelines. So regarding the local virtual learning option, what does the school day look like? We are currently working on what the school day will look like for students in the virtual option. We're looking at how and when attendance will be taken, how instruction will be provided, which may include both synchronous and asynchronous activities, and also who will provide instruction to students. So those are details that we're working on in ironing out. So, are there any questions?
This is also that option. Adrian covered it, but I think it's that one we hear a lot about. My child is not the individual with the medical condition, but someone in the household has immune compromised condition and skill that would be very dangerous for that child to go to and from. So we're looking to keep all of our youth engaged in some aspect. And this is a non-funded option that will be funded by the district. We would not generate EDA for any student that comes in here. I don't know, Brandon had an opportunity to kind of look at those numbers, get the board.
Yeah, I mean, what it may look like, so just based off this. Depending on how many students choose this when they go through the process to get the application. Right now, based on the numbers, I put the number, you'll see the budget at 600, you know, people backwards as they start to get students and students who actually do it. So I really won't know until I know that actual students, you know, that total and then all the different designations they may have, like if they're a bilingual student, there's money that would be compromised there and have to go through. It's going to take a long time. I have a kind of ballpark starting from the 600 and then go down.
What do those numbers look like right now for that one, that option, and the option that he just got on?
I think we have an idea of those numbers, where they were and where they are today.
Yes, so we're gonna hand that out to you. So it actually, the portal closed on Friday. And so the principals have gone through to vet them to see which option is best for their students. So what do they qualify? Do they already qualify for a TPA approved program? And so we get them into that program, they have the committee meeting. Or do they need to have a different type of option? So you can see on the chart where it was on Friday, and then through the principals, the elementary and the middle school principals really reaching out to their community, having a great conversation about the safety protocols in place, making sure they understand the program. We are down to 148, give or take. We have some blank spaces where they did not provide us enough information to figure out which schools they're in, like we're missing addresses and phone numbers for parents. So we're still reaching out to a few, and there's some committee meetings that still have to take place, but that's the change from Friday to today.
So the state is gonna let us count them present. Like they're not gonna be counted absent. Is that correct? Or are they, I mean,
For academic purposes.
Yeah.
Promotion, for school. Yeah.
so they're okay
Well,
as far as that. And so when you say we're getting no funding, you mean the ADA?
Right.
Okay,
They still will have to show up for synchronous learning.
right,
They'll be marked as they don't come,
right.
but they would be.
Okay.
and they will show up on our accountability. So it's important for them to attend classes because when they receive their testing, it will count for the district.
And our hope is this is temporary, that when, the 5.42 students in Texas, right below 14,000 here. And so it's pretty inevitable. We're going to have to contend with contact tracing and what happens. We're trying to make sure that we don't ever put ourselves in a position, number one, safety and welfare, the well-being of our students and our families. Number two, that we can stay in session, that we don't have to close classrooms down or campuses down. And those are going to be really fluid conversations. We're going to be talking about this as we start school and as we get into the school year about what does the metrics look like. And I think we did a really great job of the mitigation protocols, contact tracing, removing some of our youth and some of our adults out of the system for the quarantine period, come back when it's safe. And so we're able to kind of, last year, we're always increasing our percent of in-person learning, which is our goal. That'll be our goal for this year, is to make sure that we get the majority of our students back when the metric landscape allows us to kind of loosen that faucet and bring more students back. So hope is this is not a permanent program for the year, that we're able to bring our students back when our parents feel safe and they can see that we're using our protocols and making sure that we're creating an environment that they can feel comfortable with.
And so if they elect one of the virtual option, they have to stay virtual till the spring semester, or are we going? How long do they have to stay virtual?
We are going to review the grading period, which is 9
Okay,
weeks.
9 weeks.
It says semester, but we're going to do a soft review. If we feel that we can make a change, that's a good time to make a change, but students start the grading period.
And if after 9 weeks the student is failing, are we still going to give them the option to stay home?
They're going to be monitoring that throughout. And so at the 9-week period, if they feel that, it's something, what they need to look at is bringing the student back and then they'll look at that.
Okay.
So they'll look at that on a case by case.
The numbers will be so small, we can look at it case by case, with every campus, every principal kind of leading to their group and really staying in contact with those families and those students to make sure they're part of the schooling process and school experience. But we can have those conversations. And when we do our check 3 weeks and 6 weeks, we're going to have a good idea if that student's on track or not, and find out the core root analysis of why they're not on track.
Okay. And then also you said that it will not be the teacher of record. So if you have a first grader, second grader, third grader, fourth grader that are all doing virtual at, say, Elm Creek, are we just going to have one teacher that's monitoring all the different grade levels, or what are we doing? But I mean, is that going to require a teacher for every grade level, or are we going to have, I mean, because that can get out of hand.
So we're working on a plan right now with principals. We have another meeting with them tomorrow at 3:30. We really needed the numbers. Today was the day that they got to finish it. We have a couple of campuses that have very large numbers, so they weren't able to move out to all their parents yet. So we're giving them some more time. By tomorrow afternoon, we should have a plan. What we think is best is probably consolidating so that one teacher teaches first grade to everybody that needs first grade.
Okay,
but
for all
we're-
the schools.
For all the schools,
Awesome.
but we are allowing the principals the flexibility, because once we have clean numbers,
Mhm.
depending on who needs bilingual, who
Mhm.
needs lead and other resources. And once we have that, we can craft a great plan for them.
Okay.
So right now, we're still waiting for them to finish up those requested numbers. As you saw, there were a couple empty spots and there were like 30 to 40. So we need to wait for that to be clean, and then we can help them create that pathway, create those virtual classrooms, and then see which teachers can teach that and make sure they're credentialed for the right grade level. And that we really maximize the effort that we put into virtual so they have a better start than how we ended 2 years ago.
Right. And so are we looking at retired teachers to bring them in to be like long-term subs, or are we gonna have to hire more teachers at the last minute? What are we
Well,
doing?
The issue we face right now is the market driving that. There's-
Yeah.
We can't fill the positions that we have right now.
Right.
But we did give every campus extra FTEs with extra funds. So they've hired extra, unfortunately, we have to shift kind of to use those resources. We just not hold them, but
Yeah.
what we're doing now is that's the need. We will continue to look. We actually are hiring some retired teachers. We haven't done that in the past. We move forward with that, but at the same time, they're not, a lot of them not going to go either.
Yeah.
And the whole county is faced with shortages for teachers. 'Cause I think everybody uses their money to add extra.
Yeah.
For a lot of big districts, they have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Pretty fortunate where we are right now.
We have staff for these students in our basic staffing model, but you're right, they're not gonna all hit where we need them to. But by doing either in a cluster or we do it by grade level, and looking at how many of the students from this campus or that campus, then that ratio of teacher come over to the virtual program and work in that. We feel we can do it. It's going to take a lot of organizing and a lot of flexibility and a lot of patience. But we can get our students into a program that their families would like them to be in with the staff that we have. Now you're going to hear from HB 4545 with a high impact.
We have a third component, so we have a remote conferencing, that was one of the areas that we just spoke about, the 20 days that we can have students participate in. And then we have also a local virtual, and then the last thing we have is homebound, which has always been available. So we're gonna have John just go into the detail of that.
So general education homebound is the third program that we're speaking about this evening.
Good evening, board and leaders. Please let me know if you're able to hear me. Adrian, can you confirm?
Yes.
Great, thank you. This is Dawn Benavides, and I'm with the Support Services Department with 504 and Homebound. And Mr. Ramirez is going to help go through those slides. Thank you for the opportunity to present and allowing me to be here virtually. So homebound is a situation that must meet the following criteria. Number one, the student is expected to be confined at home or hospital bedside for a minimum of 4 consecutive or cumulative weeks. Students in homebound are there only for medical reasons, and that medical condition must be documented by a physician who is licensed to practice in the United States. Typically, we provide the parents a form to take to the doctor, or we can provide that to the physician, but a physician verification form is required, and it must state the medical condition and the fact that the student will be confined to home or hospital, and it must have a start and an end date for us. We have processes outlined in our district for that through use of a flow chart as well as some TEA updates, but we're not going to go over those tonight. I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're speaking of when we talk about homebound. Mr. Ramirez, the next slide. So this is the physician documentation form that I mentioned. Again, it must be filled out by a physician licensed to practice in the United States. It is student specific. So for general ed homebound services, once eligibility is determined by a general education homebound committee, many times that is in conjunction with a 504, a section 504 committee. A general education teacher would be assigned to provide direct educational services in all core subjects for the student in the home setting. The parent would sign a general education home acknowledgement form and arrange the schedule with that general education homebound teacher. Per the TEA Student Attendance Accounting Handbook, the General Education Committee determines the hours of service for that student. And what we should be doing is looking at starting at the 7-hour school day and then working our way back to the number of hours that that student is able to tolerate that in-home instruction. But 4 hours of homebound instruction per week is equal to 4 or 5 school days for attendance purposes, and we are funded for that. The other option under general ed homebound is a remote homebound instruction option, which is very limited. It is available for students in extremely severe medical circumstances when face-to-face instruction is just not possible. We as a district must seek a waiver, and we must meet all of the general education homebound requirements listed above. The expectation that there is only a small fraction of students who would actually be eligible for that remote homebound instruction option. What questions do you have about homebound?
Any? Yeah. None.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we can do the HB 45.
So now we have House Bill 4545, and with this House Bill, what the students have to do is for us to prepare ourselves in providing tutoring services for every single student that failed from 3rd through 12th grade, if they failed any state assessment. So for example, if we have a student like in 8th grade where they take ELAR, math, science, and social studies, and they failed any of those state assessments, then that would mean that they would have to take up 30 hours of tutoring we would have to offer to them. So Lisa Wilkie will give us an overview of this information, and for this, we're also looking at different avenues that we can provide the tutoring services for the students. And good evening, Mr. President, board members. So House Bill 4545 became law on June 16th of this year, and it immediately went into effect. So I'm going to briefly go through the elements of this new law. All right. So the first thing that House Bill 4545 did is they got rid of the retesting for 5th grade and 8th grade for math and reading. So it essentially eliminated the high stakes for the student element of state testing. So we're no longer going to be retaining a child because they failed STAR if they're in grades 5 or 8. What it did add is it added instructional acceleration and parameters around that instructional accelerated instruction. We've always had to do tutoring for students that failed, but now we have some parameters around that. And then it established accelerated learning committees for grades 3, 5, and 8 if the student did not pass either math or reading at the on the state test. So we do no longer have grade placement committees because we're not retaining. And we only have one opportunity to take the math and reading test for 5 and 8 because we're not retaining. And they did eliminate the optional tests at the high school of Algebra 2 and English 3, which we were not assessing our children with those in this district. So the requirements for House Bill 4545 begin immediately this school year. So we are beginning by evaluating our spring 2021 STAR scores and identifying the students that are required to have accelerated instruction. And then we're implementing policies, procedures for the parents to contest the content or implementation of educational plans and making sure that parents are aware of our process for teacher requests. So we have to have two pieces of this. The accelerated learning committees are only for grades 3, 5, and 8, and only for this test of math and reading. So I like visuals. So if you think of all the students that took the test, we've got two different groups. We've got the students that passed every test they took, and then we have the students that failed one or more of the tests that they took. And a subgroup of those students that were not successful on a test, if they are a 3rd grader, 5th grader, 8th grader, and that test was either math or reading, that group's going to have a committee, but all of the students that failed are going to have accelerated instruction. TA likes visuals too, so they made this one. So we could have a flow chart. Did the student perform satisfactorily on STAR or the EOC? If they did, no action required. If they did not, they have to have accelerated instruction.
a minimum of 30 hours for each test that they fail. And then next question is, are they third, fifth, or eighth grade? If they are, and if the test is math and reading, then they do have to have an accelerated learning committee in addition to the accelerated instruction. So we're going to have a plan. Our principals are busily setting up meetings with the parents for to be able to put these plans together for last year's third, fifth, and eighth graders that failed either math or reading. And those TA, the law says that those plans are supposed to be in place at the start of the school year. TA is giving us a little flexibility because we didn't get this notice until June 16th. So we've got a little flexibility this year, and we're going to do our very best to get those plans in place as quickly as possible. And then we're going to be monitoring these children because if they fail a second year, they become a 2-year failure. We're going to have another meeting, another accelerated learning committee meeting to see why did they fail, and they'll adjust the plan to make sure that they do become successful. So that accelerated instruction that all students that have an unsatisfactory test, they're going to be targeting the TEKS, figuring out which ones they need to target. It is supplemental to normal instruction. This is above and beyond what they normally get. And it does have to be a minimum of 30 hours. It happens at some point during the school year. It could happen in the summer. So when we start tutoring these children, they have to meet at least once a week. Of course, best practices would be 3 times a week, but the law does specify it has to be a minimum of once a week. And it has to be individual. And the group setting for this is very small. The law actually says it's a 3-to-1, 3 students to 1 teacher ratio for this accelerated instruction, unless the parent waives that small group and then we could go a little bit bigger. We do have to have these people that are providing this tutoring trained, and it should be the same person if at all possible for the whole 30 hours. So if I failed my math test, I need 30 hours of tutoring in math. If I failed my reading test also, I need another 30 hours of tutoring and reading. If I failed my science test, I need another 30 hours in science. If I failed my social studies test, I need another 30 hours in social studies. So last year's 8th graders, if they didn't pass the test or they were not successful, if they didn't come in to take the test, they're looking at 120 hours of accelerated instruction. This goes all the way through high school, and it does include our retesters.
Wait.
So this is something.
Could you go back there?
Yes, ma'am.
The grade level numbers, what is that on that side?
So those are how many students that failed 1 or more tests in each grade level.
So those are actual numbers
Those
for
are
us.
actual numbers. When they did not take the test.
And you said it has to be a maximum of 3 kids per teacher?
Unless the parent signs a waiver, yes.
So how in the world are we gonna do that? I mean, how can you even do that?
Well, it's going to be a very comprehensive plan. They have a really great plan that we're working on that has a support from PEA and their external process. We also have internal processes and that includes using university commissions that we have coming in at a record number, retired teachers, educators. We can train substitutes to do this. But this is a high impact tutoring plan from PEA that all districts are going to have to comply with.
Is this all in person? Is this all in person?
And how are they gonna be pulled out of class? So they're gonna miss their current lessons or what?
So they are not allowed to be pulled out of class.
So they have to stay after school?
So this has to be, we cannot remove them from foundation curriculum, enrichment curriculum, PE, recess, anything that a child that didn't fail is going to be partaking in, we can't do that. So we have to do it either before school, after school,
Or
or during
Saturday.
school. We can have accelerated instruction time, where we have built into the elementary schedules. We can have a study hall. We can have a 0 period. So we're having to think outside the box to come up with these times during the day. for students, but we can also do Saturdays. And we
And
can
what-
also do Sundays.
What if the parent doesn't want you to do it?
This actually is part of compulsory education
Okay.
law, and we are required to have this child do it. So that's why we have to be flexible and figure out ways that the circumstances of the child the best.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the school year, we do have an assessment that part of those 523 at the third grade.
Uh-huh.
We did have some students that did not test.
Okay.
Then those students, we have them in a list, so this way they can go ahead and have that initial test. So they do have an opportunity for them to demonstrate mastery
Okay.
in that grade level, and we could potentially see the numbers go down.
Okay.
And so as far as the plan right now is the campuses have received a list of all the students. The state is expecting that we are very specific with a skill that we're going to provide the tutoring in. So then based on that, then we do need a person that is going to be delivering this skill need for tutoring for the students. So part of the RFP that we're also bringing for approval is that we're looking at different vendors. So with a massive number, I mean, it's just a post, hopefully those numbers go down, but with the numbers that we have, for example, at the high school, for every single content area, including the retesters, and by finding the time during the daytime, after school or Saturday, we're also looking at some virtual options. But when we say virtual options, it's in addition to the instruction that has happened, and these are companies that are going to provide a professional tutor to provide the skill in order for us to be able to meet this requirement, which is the 30 hours for every assessment that the student did not pass.
And can we work with the universities where we do all of our student teaching? I mean, is that something that we
Right
can?
now, it's pretty much gonna be like all three divisions working together. We're gonna need SFI, we're gonna need the personnel, retired teachers, any tutor out there, university also. You know, Francis is also helping. What we have with A&M, we have a commitment with them as well. So we're at the point where like our current teachers, substitutes, anybody that we can train on this skill in order for us to close the gap. So we're trying to be intentional at the same time looking at vendors. The state has an approved list of vendors, and we're also vetting those vendors as well in order for them to meet our needs. And at the same time, the principals, they're working through the list of the students, but they've also received the skills specific that the students need for reading and math.
We're actually bringing this item back for Brownback, so we can drill down further into it, because this is going to require some time. We're not actually launching this until we get mid-September. So we have some, I know the priority is get school started to get our families into their plan, the learning venue, that they request, and make sure we meet all the compliance. And then we're going to start it's going to be a huge task that's in front of us, but it's a huge task for every district. I can tell you, when we look at our student outcomes, specifically in our elementary math, our student outcomes rate in the top 3. So we're in a good position. We hope that we can mitigate some of these numbers by getting our students at the beginning of the year assessment, and then move forward. But I think we can do this. I think 3 to 1 could be really hard, but if we can get our parents to agree, then we can actually do that ratio of a higher number and help more of our kids.
At the brown bag, let's add a component of funding impact. You know, what's this gonna cost us?
This is a big ESSER item, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Potentially change
Yeah.
Because you're all gonna offer the test, like for those people that didn't take the test, right?
The TA has a beginning of year assessment, so those students that did not come in and take the state assessment, will be giving them that assessment. If they're successful on that, then they are no longer in that list of children that need accelerated.
So our numbers could drop down drastically.
Correct.
And so after the 30 hours, then they retest, and then if they pass, then they don't need any more, or you're just saying you only get 30 hours and catch up, or?
You know, we have to complete the 30 hours per assessment
Okay,
for the year. We have the entire
No
year to complete
retesting.
the 30 hours per assessment.
okay. Oh, the whole year.
And I can tell you, you can be really proud of CNI has already been through the work of identifying the students, identifying the teach that we teach, the anchor teach, to make sure every principal has their list already. So we've already put some work behind this. Well, CNI has a lot of work behind this already. So we're already moving down that path in order to achieve this
from, the state did come back and saying they're going to be flexible, so we moved a little bit. But initially they were saying that this like had to start, before school started. We had to have every single meeting moved for the 3rd, 5th, and 8th, but they came back and said we're going to be flexible. So we have that understanding as well. At the same time, we know that in the end, it's 30 hours, we will benefit. It's just a 3-to-1 ratio that we are really trying to have a conversation with the parents in order for us to look at more flexibility of 8-to-1, 10-to-1, small group.
Okay. Well, good luck. Lot of
So-
work.
So TA actually gives us 2 options. The first option, which we prefer, is if we have a teacher on staff who is recognized by TA as a master exemplary or recognized teacher. Unfortunately, there's only about 6,000 of those in the state of Texas. So most of the districts are going to have to go with the option 2, which is the 30 hours. So we are part of a high impact tutoring cohort. We make sure we applied and we're part of the very first one with TEA. So TEA is providing us with a number of supports. We have a high impact tutoring toolkit. We have a list of vetted Texas tutors that they have pre-approved, and they'll be providing trainings through the Region Service Center. And then we have the T-Class grant opportunity, which will be completing that this week and applying for those funds also. So a high impact tutoring program has somebody who's well trained and consistent in the tutoring. We've got high quality materials. We have that small group and it's embedded in a school day or immediately before or after. And high impact tutoring says it should be 3 times a week, not just the 1 time, and it's data driven. That's my brief presentation.
That's extracting the surface. Thank you, Lisa.
That's a lot of work.
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. Okay. Brendan, you're on. Budget and tax update.
Okay, we're still in items of information.
Oh, we still got an hour and a half.
Oh.
Considering-
One minute.
2 minutes.
1 minute. Well, I'll have all August 31st with you, so that'll be the time we spend a lot of time on this. So I'll try to go through rapidly the highlights. One thing I want to point out though, on August 31st, when we do our budget and tax rate public hearing, we want to have an ESER 2 hearing because that's our ESER 2 applications open. We're going through the data. And this is piggybacking on 4545. A lot of the funding that we're going to use is going towards out of ESER 2 on this, as well as looking at this. We might have a virtual today. I didn't have these numbers that Francis has. So what I have is based off the high level. I'll put 600 just in case. But then I'll be able to, once we gear down to the actual students that are going to be virtual, I can give you that number. What that's going to look like. Yeah, that's it. Good. All right. So we got a timeline there. We're just getting to August 31st. We have to have a budget adopted. We have to have a tax rate adopted for the next fiscal year. Working through the template, looking at the data, finalizing demographics, how many students we think we're going to have in ADA and all our special populations. And so really, based on that, based on our property value, which has been tremendous, and we're at over 10% growth, we're going to be around what we have this year. So revenue wise, if we, based on the projections that I'm using, if we hit our projections, we should be kind of breaking even. So it's around, we're going to finish the year about 130 million. And I think that we'll start based on the numbers that I'm using around the same 130 million. And that's just what you're talking there is between your taxpayer money and your foundation payments. And then you have another set of funds down here, which is our INS. So I wanted to point this out because this is our debt payment. And as you go across, you notice that we are 2 million, 3 million, 2 million. That's what we used to get from the state based on our property value. But our property value has grown so much that it's almost dissipating. It's almost going away. We're almost going to be fully funded by taxpayers on our debt payment. And I just wanted to show that because our value grow, the state takes away some of that kind of state aid they give you for EDA and IFA. Let's see. There you go. All right. There you go. So based on our property values, we had 10% growth, we got compressed again. So I just wanted to share with the board that our tax rate that I'm going to bring to you on the 31st would be $1.37.4. And we were up above $1.04 before that. And that'll give us approximately the 99% collection rate that we use, or even though we'll collect about 43 million in taxes, another 18 million, almost 19 million for our INS debt payment, so that we can make our debt payment. The one thing I wanted to point out on this slide, if you look here, you go back to 2011, 2012. In 2011, our property values was under $2 billion. And a span of almost less than 10 years, we've doubled, and we're at $4 billion in property value. So this is the first year that we went over $4 billion in our value, which is tremendous growth over the years in our district. A lot of that has to do with Toyota coming on and other industry partners that are here. And now a lot of it's having to do with all the houses that are popping up all over the district. So for our INS rate, we are setting our tax rate at $1.43, 8.04. And that'll make us allow us to make our debt payment next year will be $19,742,000. And we'll get $863,000 from the state, and then we'll need the additional funds to make up the difference. And so there's our tax rate. This kind of shows you our tax rate over time. I went back and looked at it. It's kind of stayed steady. And you can notice here we're going to start declining. A lot of that is because this is 2020. So in 2019, we got compressed because of our values because of the new legislation. And in 2021, it's not up here, but you'll see that's going to also be compressed. So right there in 2020, you can see that we were over $1.40, and we're going to be under $1.40 this year and that's basically on the M&O side. So total tax collection is going to be $61 million when we put the INS and the M&O together. And the way you can look at it, I know this is a little blurry up there, but the average house has gone up. So if you look here at taxable value, the average taxable value of our residents in our homes is $112,000. Not the appraised value, but the taxable value. And then a house now we're taxing at $123,000 because of the values of houses have gone up. So when you take that $123,000, the average, and then you take our INS, our rate, $1.37, the average taxpayer that has a home that's worth $122,000 is going to pay about $1,600 in taxes. What that means is, even though we're lowering our rate, we're increasing taxes because we are getting more taxes because they're appraised value. So this is good for the public to know that it's really because of this value, because your residency grew in value and not because the district's raising taxes. So we want to make sure we have that message, because when we go later on to do a bond, this is part of the process. So looking at revenue, our M&O collections, you can see here, I put it up here side by side with the 600, and I don't want you to look at that anymore, because if we get better numbers, if it's under 200, this will change drastically. But I'm looking at our tax collections, the state aid based on that first attempt that I showed you, other revenues in our district, and then our TRS on behalf of the flow through. We're looking at about $141 million in revenue, almost 142. Going through and setting up all our budgets, we're almost complete. We should be done by Friday. Putting the raises in, using our ESSER funds to add those ESSER assignments that we put to the district. You can see across the board what our payroll is. So this whole top part is payroll. So out of the whole budget, 118 million is going to go towards payroll. So a huge part of our budget is payroll, staff, and all the other things that come along with that. And then campus department budget is about 27 million, which is a total of about $145 million, almost 145 and 677,000. So what that looks like on paper when you compare, this will be our first budget that we will adopt, a deficit budget. Do not look at the bottom number because that's virtual with 600 students going to virtual. So we're not going to have that. I'll have to go back and recalculate based on when I get updated numbers. So I want to reflect that in the budget to make sure that we all know who our deficits are. But right now, even as I've been showing y'all through the summer, based on our revenue, because we're not growing yet, we don't know. And this is all a projection because come Monday next week, we're going to find out what our enrollment is. And if it's back to 13.7, this number is going to be a lot better. If it's under 13, then it can go the other way. So we have to really watch that. And then we have to make sure that we're taking great attendance and students are coming to school. Another piece of this is last year we had asynchronous, our attendance rate was a lot better. Now our kids are coming back and have to go take off for medical reasons and things like that. We don't have that luxury anymore. So right now we're looking at about 3.8, almost 4 on a deficit, which would be a fund balance item on paper. But as the year goes on, what I'm going to use ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 is to supplant that. I just want to be upfront with the board that as we have 4 million already designated with staff from ESSER. We have a deficit of almost 4 million, so that's really like $8 million in the future that we have to make up. So in 3 or 4 years from now, our ADA's got to get better. Our property values need to continue to grow, and we need to basically add more students, or we're going to have to look at through attrition somehow downside to this number. Because really, I can cut 10%, keep cutting this, but this is where the majority of funds going. That's the staff, and that's compensation plans and things like that. Things to come, things that we're trying to finish up. The board has to approve on the 31st. You approve the general fund budget, which is our major budget, the child nutrition budget, and then our debt service budget. We'll have all those ready for you. We'll have a public hearing to talk about those. You'll approve it by function. And so I'll give you the numbers by function, then I'll give you by programs, and I'll give you by campus. But the one I'm going to ask you to approve is by function. We'll have all our purchases. I will tell you one thing that's happening right now is, and it goes from athletics to fine arts to construction projects. We have a lot of stuff that we put out to get as far as purchases this summer and even back into May. But the market and the supply is really hard. It's really hard to get the stuff. So we may have a lot of rollovers. That means stuff that we have in this year's budget that didn't get, that we tried to purchase. We have a purchase order out there. We have somebody shipping it to us, we're trying to get it in. And it's not going to come until after September. So what happens is those funds, we close out, and those funds go back into fund balance. And then I come back and say, this is what rollovers we had from last year. And a lot of that's construction, a lot of that will be athletics, fine arts, different programs that have stuff that didn't come in. So we'll ask for that back. We're working on that. And then we have some other niches. We do have the 3rd year of the fine arts equipment. That'll be an additional fund balance item because we finished our 2 years and this will be the last year of that. And we are working on all our federal budgets, the budgets that are outside of this and other grants. And so give you a picture of fund balance, but the idea is to get August 31st with a budget. Be our first budget. We'll have it together. There'll be a deficit, but we do have ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 to help supplant that and work through it. So questions for me?
No, I just want to give you props that I'm talking to you this week and giving you a good clarity on being an board member with the budget. You did a great job in knowledge, giving me the knowledge, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Questions? I know item of action later on. You also have a public meeting that day.
Yes.
On the 31st, right?
31st, we'll have a public hearing. I have it on there. We have to approve that and have a public hearing. And right after that, we'll have an ESSER 2 public hearing, and then we'll have a regular board meeting, which will be a couple of items. And then we'll have,
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you.
Declaration of homeschool participation, UAL activities.
Yes, sir. A new piece of legislation that came out through this last session. And it kind of came at the 11th hour to school district where we had to declare whether or not we would allow homeschool students to participate in UIL. And we had to do that by August 1st. I just wanted to notify the board that in the UIL portal, where we had to make that declaration that we declared that we would not allow homeschool students to participate in our UIL. And I believe, as far as I know, that's how every district in Grant County made the declaration. So just wanted to make the board aware of that.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Versta? Okay, item 7A will postpone till after closed session. 7B, consider nominating candidate for Bear Appraisal Board of Directors. This is something that we do every year. We do have a representative that comes out of our district, and it's been for what, 3 elections? 3 or 4. Sherry Byram, and we've both Lloyd and I have talked to her, and she's interested in doing it one more time. So Unless anyone has anyone else in mind,
I nominate Sherry Byram.
A second.
we have a nomination and a second. Other board members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Take care of that. Okay. Item 8A, consider approval of optional flexible school day program for high schools.
So this is a continuation program, and I have Adrian Ramirez that will be presenting a little bit of a change for this program, and that's the reason incentive.
So Southwest High School, Southwest Legacy High School, and Cass STEM High School collectively service approximately 4,500 students in grades 9 through 12. All middle schools in our district, including McCullough, McNair, Resnick, and Scobie, service approximately 3,100 students collectively. While most of the instruction at these schools, at these campuses occurs in traditional settings, there exists an at-risk population within each campus that could benefit from the availability of online curriculum and flexible scheduling. As a result, all secondary campuses are seeking approval to submit to the Texas Education Agency the optional flexible school day program application for the 2021-2022 school year. The OFSDP is a TEE approved program which provides flexible attendance options for students enrolled in school. This is a continuation of the optional flexible school day program. An application has been provided by the Texas Education Agency and has been completed by Southwest Independent School District. There is no cost to the district. This program allows for the district to collect ADA for students that meet time requirements. The information that's been included with the board background is actually information about previous years OFSDP programs. There was no OFSDP, although we did apply for, and we were approved for the program last year. Because of the virtual learning that took place last year, there were no students who actually participated in OFSDP, since many of them did online or participated in online learning. So the recommendation at this point is that the board approve the optional flexible school day program application for schools for the 2021-2022 school year.
I move.
I second.
We have a motion and a second that the board approve the OFSDP application for high schools 2021-2022 school year. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
And the next item that we have
The COVID.
will be Will Baker presenting a resolution for the COVID-related expenses.
Okay, last year, remember, we had the federal program in fall semester, and we continued in the spring semester to provide extra leave to our employees who had issues related to COVID or COVID-related illness. What we're proposing this year is that we do continue that program through the school year, through June of 2022, but just at 5 days, 5 extra days for those who are either diagnosed with COVID or they have been quarantined for COVID-related reasons.
I move.
Wait, I just have a quick question. So if we're putting a teacher out because they have COVID or they were exposed, whatever. Well, at first, if they're wearing their mask, then we're not going to put them out if they're just exposed, right?
Continue the contact.
Right, the contact tracing.
Like you're absolutely correct.
Okay, so if they do have it, the guideline is what, 10, like actual calendar days that they have to stay out?
I'm going to defer to.
Okay, so, and then do they have to present a negative test before they come back?
No.
Okay, so if they have 2 days, maybe they used all their leave or something, right? They only have 2 days. So we're gonna pay them they're gonna use their 2 days.
Right.
And then we're gonna put in another 5, right? And then later in the year, if they have to go out again, if they didn't use all the 5, then they're available for them, right?
Yeah.
But if they did use them, then they're out on their own time.
Correct.
Okay,
And I will say, I think some neighboring districts that I've seen are like 3 or 4. So.
right. And then is this something that we can revisit later? Just, if something, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
So it's not something that's gonna be tie our hands. Okay,
We haven't waited cases, it's gone away.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's not something we're like bound to in case something else happens. Okay.
Okay, now we're looking for a motion on the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Moni,
Thank-
did you hear the first? Okay.
Thank you. Okay, now we have consider approval of 2021-2022 high school start and end date times.
So I'm just gonna do a brief run on this.
Thank
The
you.
board usually approves the bell schedule, and so we needed to build a passing period for the first period on one of the high school schedules. So just lowered the start time from 8:50 to 8:45. It does not interfere with any time that they have in class. It does not interfere with transportation or food services. It just allows kids to hear one bell 5 minutes before they need to walk to class. And that allows us the opportunity to make sure everybody starts at the same time.
I move.
I second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Could I ask a question about the other thing? I meant to ask one more question. So, if the teacher has 10 days of leave accumulated, can she use our 5 instead of her 5?
For COVID related.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
The COVID related, we'll probably use those 5 first.
Yes.
And then whatever they,
just making sure. So that's the option, right? They can use that,
yeah, we'll use the COVID piece first, but it's COVID related.
right?
If it's
a Perfect.
close contact, it has to be through our mitigation protocol.
Okay, I'm just making sure that they have that option. Okay.
Okay. Business and Finance. A, consider approval of RFP for external tutoring.
This is part of previous presentation on House Bill 4545. Mr. Morgan here with First Office is going to present. We did an RFP for tutoring services, so we're here to present the results of that.
Evening board, Dr. Rishna, with senior staff. As previously mentioned, House Bill 4545 established a new requirement for school to implement accelerated instruction for students who did not have to start this. Accelerated instruction entails delivering supplemental instruction through tutoring. That can also include using external tutoring vendors for doing that. Because of that, the category is now projected to go over the established expenditure threshold. It requires us to issue our request for proposal or RFP. To be proactive, Southwest ISD has issued RFP 2021-132 for external tutoring on July 27, 2021. The proposal was sent to known tutoring vendors, and as of August 11th, the district has received 3 proposals. The purchasing curriculum and instruction departments reviewed and evaluated those proposals based on the requirements listed in the RFP. The potential demand for the external tutoring not only warrants a multiple award, but also to keep the RFP open for future proposals through July 31st, 2026. The district staff will review and award future qualified proposals on a monthly basis. The procurement would be good from the award date all the way through August 31st, 2026. Awarded vendors would be added to a list, and that list would be shared with campus administrators. District staff anticipates the total expenditures not to exceed $5 million for the next fiscal 4 fiscal years, and it would be including federal and local funds, including ESSER funding. The district staff is recommending the board to approve the multiple vendor award for RFP 2021-131 external tutoring to Above and Beyond Learning Incorporated, iTutor.com Incorporated, Teksha Smart Labs for August 2021, and the approval of any additional qualified tutoring vendors through July 31st of 2026.
So we're gonna have like, I guess, an open vendor waiting for another vendor to come in.
We're waiting for another vendor, but what our process is going to be sending that group to CNI to make sure, because we don't want to just have 50 tutoring firms and everybody using something different. We'll still go through the process once we get another bid and have CNI bid and then add them to our list.
So we're gonna be approving for 3 today, or?
Right now, we have 3 proposals, but right now, I think people they're coming out of the woodwork and submitting stuff, but we're still gonna go and make sure that TA has an approved list, but also CNI department will decide whether.
We're still contacting vendors on the process now. Just because they get awarded doesn't mean we have to use them. They're just available to be used by the administrator. But again, if we do evaluation to determine that they don't meet our needs, we don't have to use them. And the vendors realize that when they receive an award, it doesn't mean we're going to guarantee getting business for it. It's just saying we can use you. If you don't apply, we don't award you, we can never use you.
Remember, this is one option out of many. We talked earlier about using substitutes and retired teachers and students working with the university. So this is that kind of safety net that we also want to use to make sure that we can address the multiple high impact needs.
Okay, do we have a motion to consider? Pete makes the motion. Do I have a second? Second. Flo seconds. So we have a motion to approve, consider approval to award RFP 2021-131 external tutoring. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B.
The certified tax roll, we have got our certified tax roll on July 25th. We have to submit it by then. That was the over $4 billion that I shared with you. It is required for the board to accept the certified tax roll. And so tonight I'm asking the board to certify the appraisal roll for tax year 2021.
Okay.
I move.
A second. Do we have any questions? No, okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item C.
Item C, basically asking the board to approve the August 31st as the date to set the public hearing for the budget and the tax rate process.
Okay. Okay, first and second, Pete's first, so second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D.
This is also asking the board to make August 31st a regular board meeting to accept the final budget amendments for 2020, 2021, and also adopt the budget tax rate for 2021, 2022.
Okay. Any questions? No, okay. Flo move.
Second.
James seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item E.
Item E, every year the board, the district needs to bring to the board a resolution adopting our investment policy, our strategy, and our broker list. I will say in the current market, the investments have been very scarce. There's one change. I have not changed our policies at all, and our strategies. The only strategy I'm asking the board to change in policy is to move commercial paper from 3 months to 270 days. Commercial paper investment right now is actually one of the better investments, but it's a very long-term investment. Commercial paper is a bank looking for money. And so we basically invest it now and then we get the full percentage back. And so if we give them $60 and the commercial papers for 100, they give us 100 back. So it's a good investment, but it's very short term because our policy doesn't allow us to go 270 days.
Can I give you 60 and get 100 back?
That's because the bank's looking for liquidity. So it's a very good, you don't want to go out further than that. So that's really the only change, no change to broker list, no other strategies. That's the only strategy that we want to change the date.
I so move.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Brandon. Consider approval of gym floor replacement at Southwest High School competition gym. This Thomas, you're on.
As you know, we replaced the gym floor approximately about a year and a half ago. Unfortunately, during the freeze damage that we had, we believe water intrusion happened again underneath that gym floor. It had been covered up all during the summer while we were replacing the air conditioning units as part of the phase 3 project. With with plywood and the tarp and all of the scaffolding. Once they took it off at the end or middle of July, we realized that the floor had started to bubble again due to water being under it. If you look from the home bleachers out to the mid-court, pretty much that was at a saturation point of anywhere from 30% to 12%, which is the line of doing it. So with Coach Wagner, we met with Quality Hardwood. It was pretty much deemed that the floor was not playable for the volleyball season. So we are going to recommend that the board approve Quality Hardwood floor to come in, rip out, and replace that floor again for an amount of $151,844. We have reached out to our insurance company. I met with them on site. They took pictures. They are assessing the damage. They also are interested in coming once the floor has been torn out to see the underneath the subfloor to see what could be going on there. Issue we have now is maple is very scarce, so it's about a 9-week lead time to get the wood. So what we'd like to do is get it approved, have them tear the floor out as soon as possible, and then have that time of waiting on the wood to monitor and see if, for some reason, if it wasn't water intrusion, if there was some other reason, we should be able to see it within that 9-week period. We'll monitor it daily to check it, but until we tear it out, we really don't know for sure. Question on that.
What was the damage? How can they tell that it's something?
The floor actually, when you take the baseboards off around the wall, there usually is an 1.5 inch gap between the wood and the wall. That gap on the home side is completely closed up. And so it closed up an 1.5 inch gap and then started pushing back the other way, and the floor actually bubbled up off the ground about 2.5 inches.
They couldn't cut that wall.
He said even if they did that, the other floor had already started to cup. So it made almost like a washboard on every board going across there. They said if someone were to dive, like in volleyball, if you dove, even though it was almost down all the out of bounds, they said if it's a playable ball and somebody dives across that, they could tear the skin off.
Is it the same company that's done it before?
It is.
They've done a great
Same
job. They've
same
done a
company
great
that did
job.
the last floor for us. And they do all of our refinishing during the summer. They've done a really good job.
I move.
Second. We have a motion, a second, to approve Quality Hardwood floors to replace our competition gym at the high school southwest. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Thomas.
Just so the board knows, too, sir, that the Southwest High School will be playing their varsity competition. Southwest Legacy this season, so that floor will be at condition.
Volleyball team, we're trying to, that's why we're here, to try to get it ready for basketball season.
Okay.
So we're also doing supply maple wood that goes down. So hopefully we have.
Did you say that the Dragons are going to play
At Legacy.
the volleyball, all their volleyball home games? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. We have item G, consider approval of 2021-22 hazardous routes.
This year I have with me.
Mr. Tamayo.
Every year we bring you the report on our hazardous routes, basically routes that we deem hazardous so that students can't walk on campus. So he's here to report on that. And we have it on this because it's one small change, but I don't believe it's changed enough.
Brandon, when we have a sidewalk and the kids have to walk to school, who takes care of maintaining? Because the one on Field Road where Freeway is at, it's just overrun with grass.
That's the county.
It's horrible. There's no way students can walk on it.
So we'll take a look at it and let me know, because I mean, that's one thing we can reach out to our county commissioner or the group that works with county commissioner. That would be a county.
Also in front of Big Country Elementary, just really high and cars park on both sides. And although there's a car line, there's still cars that park and parents get off and the students come with the parents to get in the car. There's just no way. The grass is so high, it's ridiculous.
I'm gonna say it's like that around the county, and a lot of that had to do with the really rainy late July. But we see it around here too as well, along the roadways, but it's just out of hand right now in a lot of places. So you're right. We see it too.
Can we do that? Can we just weed eat it ourselves? I mean, they're already out there mowing, right?
We can, but
Our guys can handle
Right
it
now,
now.
we're having a hard time keeping up with ours. which is already-
Yeah, but I mean, we could if we
Yeah, we
had to.
could, I mean, yeah, we want them to do it. but if we
No, I
had
know.
to, we could. And I have the same issue at Meadow Creek, the city doesn't maintain that street. I think that will change now with that apartment complex going in that street,
Yeah.
with the city, we put it in, but the city was supposed to maintain it. and they just don't.
We need to get on them
Right.
about areas that
Yeah.
have schools near there where students have to walk, you know.
Call
But
Channel-
that area
call Channel
is
4.
safe.
Call Channel
In
4.
that area, there's a lot of states and that's unsafe.
I
already call our town.
was,
Yeah.
he brought up Meadow Creek. I was gonna ask about that too. So on Facebook, I saw the the parents at Meadow Creek and some volunteers went and cleaned the area up right by that apartment complex that's going up. Do they not have to, does the construction people at that apartment complex, don't they have to maintain their fence line and all
I
that?
think what they went to try and do the cleanup on was in between the property line, the apartment complex and the sidewalk, which is technically city right away.
Oh,
So
okay.
it Really technically falls on them. I believe that once the apartment complex is in, their maintenance people will probably take care of that once it's completely done.
I wonder if it's something we could talk to that construction company about. I mean, because we have so many kids, it's like an eyesore. So I don't know. I was very proud of that community. They went out and did all that. That was awesome. But
Okay, Mr. Tavares.
Policy CNA local regarding transportation management, student transportation must be updated annually to reflect the changes to condition in areas that might require the district to provide transportation residing within 2 miles of their campus. The board shall annually adopt a resolution to identify hazardous conditions with 2 miles of the school campus. The resolution shall describe the specific hazardous routes, areas in which reside students who would otherwise be ineligible for transportation. The district shall provide transportation in public locations of the routes because of the hazardous conditions in those areas listed. Transportation annually submits a resolution to the board to identify those areas that are deemed hazardous. Transportation has compiled the various hazardous routes and provides the required information to allow the board to certify a resolution that identifies all hazardous areas within the district outlined by CNA local on one document. Resolution once certified by the board will be posted to the district website. No fiscal impact, recommendation that the board certifies the attachment resolution.
And all, I don't think there's any changes, the only changes is the new subdivision. Los Altos, for Lapo and Section. Because where Los Altos is major traffic, and can't walk. We had that. The board approved this, we'll post this.
Okay,
I move.
thank you. We have a motion and a second that we approve the hazardous routes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mr. Tamayo. Thank you for being patient. Consider approval of RFP 2021-128 District Competition and Practice Fields Fertilization, Weed and Insect Control. Thomas.
Yes, sir. So the main staff, along with Morgan, purchasing department, went through and issued an RFP on Island Wave on July 13th, 2021. Proposals were accepted and received on August 3rd, 2021. We only received one proposal, and that was from True Green Limited Partnership. They are currently the company that we have on contract for this work. So this contract will start September 1 and go through August 31st, and then have 4 additional 1-year extensions on it. So the recommendation is the board approve True Green Limited Partnership for a 1-year contract with the 4 1-year renewals for an approximate amount per year of $63,502.26.
Questions?
I move.
Second.
Motion and second that we approve the True Green Limited Partnership contract for 1 year, approximately $63,502.26. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. CNI, consider approval of online instructional programs for 2021-22.
evening, Mr. Board President, once again, board members. It is that time of year again, when we do have to bring to the board, consider approval of purchase for our online instructional programs. And so we are looking to renew our Edgenuity online program, which is for credit recovery, supplementing classroom instruction and preparation for STAR, TSI, ACT, and SAT. We also have the Imagine Learning Company, which is a K through 8th grade online math program, and that provides supplemental adaptive mathematics instruction and math fact automaticity. Achieve 3000 is one of our online intervention programs for reading, which provides personalized instruction in areas of need, as well as targeted teacher-driven lessons. Amplify Education is a K through 5 student-driven literacy program that provides both enrichment and remediation for all our students, leveraging the power of compelling storytelling to engage students in personalized reading instruction and practice. iStation is an adaptive online reading program, which includes the beginning of year growth measure assessment aligned with TEA requirements for 7th grade reading. And then we also have No Red Ink, which is an online program to support teaching and writing, which includes alignment to the STAR, TSI, SAT, ACT, and AP exams. So at this time, curriculum instruction is requesting authority to purchase an estimated $554,000 in online instructional programs for the upcoming school year. And the pricing was competitively procured through the RFP, and so the total cost for online instructional programs requiring board approval for the 2021-2022 school year will be approximately $554,000. I move.
Second. Any questions? We have a motion and a second to approve the online instructional programs for the following school year. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Approval of San Antonio Education Partnership MOU.
We already have this as a consent agenda, but we are adding a campus to this MOU. So we gotta go ahead and
Good evening, Board President, board members, Dr. Verstep, and senior staff. So this year, like Dalila mentioned, we are adding CASTEM High School to support our seniors. So San Antonio Education Partnership, we're asking for approval of the contract for school year 21-22. And they support our seniors by increasing college and career readiness, enrollment in universities and local community colleges, and then also attaining a degree. So these advisors really support our seniors at the 2 comprehensive campuses, and we're asking to add CASTEM High School this year. And so there's also a scholarship that our seniors are afforded that opportunity. And so it's based on financial need, grade point average, and then submitting their application. So it's always great to see our seniors be awarded this scholarship. And it also is contingent upon funds from the entity. So tonight we are asking for approval for $60,000 at $20,000 each for each of the high schools.
This is all from Title I campus funds. Let's see. Board members, any questions?
I move.
A second.
We have a motion and a second that we approve the contract with SAEP for the following school year. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you, Selena. Pre-K for SA amendment.
Tonight we have Dr. Tice to take us through what this amendment is about.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
President Vasquez and board members. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of background with the pre-K, as I know you're all very well familiar. Back in 2016-17, Southwest ISD moved to a full-day pre-K program in the district with grant funds provided by the Texas Education Agency.
ESC Region 20, and Pre-K for SA. During the past 2021 school year, the city of San Antonio did not offer new grant opportunities due to COVID. Rather, they offered the school districts that were already participating districts to be able to amend the grants that were already approved and in place. So our amendment submitted last year for the 21-22 school year was for a focus on improving the quality of instruction in all Southwest ISD pre-K classrooms to include our continued administrator training with our principals and our assistant principals in early childhood education. As this was a need presented to us from our principals because many did not have a background in early childhood education. So the city of San Antonio approved the amendment that we submitted for a grant for a total amount of $247,707 for this next school year. These funds do include the cost of 2 pre-K instructional coaches to provide support to the staff, which includes all of our pre-K teachers for all of our pre-K, which is our Southwest ISD pre-K for all, Head Start, and pre-K for SA, including our assistants and early childhood. These are all of our special ed teachers who are in an early childhood tech setting. So the funds in the grant are allocated for the coaches to also obtain their class or classroom assessment scoring system certification, which is very similar to PDOS, but it's based on best practices in the pre-K classroom. Our elementary principals would then also continue to receive their year 2 and their year 3 training, as we have new elementary principals coming into the program and coming into the district. So rather than just assuming they're going to pick up at the same pace where the others are, we would be able to start them off at year 1 and year 2 based on their experience. So the fiscal impact for this between the 20 and the 22 school year is a combined total of over $589,000. So this evening I come before you to seek approval for the pre-K for SA grant amendment for the 21-22 school year.
I like this one because we don't cost us nothing. We get money.
You get money, yes.
Okay, board members, any questions?
No, I move. Oh, sorry. Well,
Okay, you want a second?
second.
We have a motion and a second. The board approved the pre-K for SA grant amendment for the following school year. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you very much. The next one we have for pre-K.
Crimson grant, is that yours too?
Pardon?
Is item D yours also?
Yes.
The
yes,
Crimson
this
grant?
is the pre-K Crimson grant. Also with, this is with Region 20. So the Crimson grant, it's a long acronym. It stands for the COVID Recovery Instructional Material Support Initiative. So try saying that 5 times fast. Okay, so otherwise known as Crimson. So Region 20 offered the Crimson integrated pilot to all pre-K teachers in Southwest ISD for the 21-22 school year. We're very excited about this because it would be training for all of our pre-K for all teachers, our pre-K for SA, and our Head Start teachers. And this grant is awarded to TEA, to Region 20, and we were sought out as one of the districts to participate. Again, it does not cost us any money. We get the training, and our teachers also get a stipend if they complete all the training.
Oh,
So,
that's nice.
pardon me?
That's nice.
Yeah.
I just-
More money coming in. So the Crimson initiative is for districts interested in piloting the Texas Home Learning, or the THL, instructional materials for the subset of teachers, and the subset that we chose were our pre-K teachers. The THL instructional materials are designed specifically to meet the needs of an in-person, remote, and or hybrid learning environment to prevent the learning loss for students and to catch up those who lost ground last year. The pilot provides remote learning training and support for teachers, extra materials such as their text sets, the books for the students, as well as stipends for our participating teachers. If approved, the pilot program will include hands-on professional development for 32 Southwest ISD pre-K teachers during the 21-22 school year. They are also going to accept all of our aides to be able to go and attend training with their teachers, so they serve as support in the classroom for the learning. The participants will be provided with high-quality instruction materials from Teaching Strategies for their classroom, and it's quite a bit that they would be receiving, so it's like Christmas when they begin this. They'll be getting 9 teacher guides, 8 4-week studies, support from an early childhood consultant from Region 20 in person and during their virtual training sessions, 5 planning days during the school year with funds for a floating sub on the days the Region 20 coach is working with the teachers in the classroom. The 32 participating teachers will be eligible to receive a $1,000 stipend upon successful completion of the training requirements. So the total amount of this grant is $178,400. So I come before you to seek approval for the COVID Crimson initiative for the district for 21-22 school
Questions?
I move.
Second. A motion and second to approve the Crimson grant with ESC Region 20. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Patty. Okay, before we go into closed session, Dr. Versta.
So I just want to officially make a public statement. Great to have you back. I want you to know your team really stepped up. Your vice president did
No doubt.
great job in your place. And so I want to thank Ida for that. Nice to have you back. And we know that you have been through an ordeal. And it's good to have you. So good to see you.
Thank you. Is that the one item?
Yep.
Wow, what a welcome back. That's a nice one.
You said you were
Yes.
going to tell us about a meeting that needs to happen.
Oh, yes, August 25th, I believe it's next week, Bexar County Coalition is meeting with some people coming in national. I'll send you all an email if you have time. It's going to be a virtual meeting, so you have time to attend. Okay, thank you, Pia. I was going to forget. I told you I would. Okay. With all that said, as permitted by sections 551.001 551.146 of the Texas Government Code and pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, discussion on personnel and administrator employment, resignations, reassignments, leave of absence, and contract renewals. In accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, we will now go into closed session at 8:26. Let's meeting back to order at 9:32. Before we go on, I'd like to make a statement that during the executive session, the board met under Texas Government Code 551.071 with our district attorney to discuss item 6K virtual learning venues. With that said, we'll go to item superintendent's recommendations on personnel and administrative employment, resignations, reassignments, leave of absence, contract renewals, item 7A.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation on personnel.
I second.
We have a motion, a second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Dr. Versta?
Yes, sir. Would like to sadly inform the board that we will be doing our convocation virtually, just because of the state of where everything is right now, and it's the safest venue. We are excited in June, but we will deal with this and move forward. It will start at 8:30 a.m. We will give all of you the link to be part of that, and we'll definitely introduce our board. You have this sheet in front of you where there are invitations and dates, I believe, to remember. So we're doing another town hall on Thursday, day after tomorrow, so that you all know. I'm really proud of staff who have been presenters at our town halls. This will be our third week in a row where you're getting out information. There's been over 700 people in the last one, and it's a really great opportunity to speak directly, virtually, to our community and provide information. Really do a great job of providing us questions. We put them in our frequently asked questions on the website. I would, since we'll do some introductions of folks of some of the personnel moves, but we have one person here. So I would like to introduce our Director of Communications, Mr. Roger Campos. That was approved tonight. Roger has been just a proven asset to the district with his expertise, and we look forward to him advancing up and taking this leadership role. And that's all I have. Sir, thank you very much for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity.
Board members, one more thing?
Nope.
Hearing none, let's go home. Meeting adjourned, 9:35.
You didn't do shout out.